Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Stardust Podcast. Today we are filming at the park because I needed to get myself out of my bedroom. Now here we are in nature. It feels really nice, even though there's a bunch of ants around me, but we're just gonna ignore that. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of ants in my bag, but that's a later problem. Today's topic, I'm gonna be processing how I've pushed away people that care about me. I think for a majority of my life, I've always felt like an ominous creature standing in a corner. I tend to be very reserved and shy, and this definitely stems from childhood, like I've always been this way. I tend to really admire outgoing people, people that are very charming, people that walk into a room and light up the room, and everyone is excited to see them, and they talk to everyone, and they're just very lively when interacting with people. I've always tended to date people that are like that, the complete opposite of me. Will walk into a room and they're talking to pretty much everyone, and everyone's excited to see them. They're like, "Hey, Johnny!" I've never dated anyone named Johnny. I just made that up. And like, I'm just like the weird, awkward person next to them that doesn't really know what to say or where to look or where to put my hands. And yeah, I just have this tendency to often feel like a creature, which is kind of funny because I'm an artist and I put myself out there a lot and I interact with a lot of people. And I feel like in the context of being an artist, I tend to do very well socially. But outside of that, when it comes to just being a person in everyday life, socializing, I have a hard time. I have a hard time. It feels like I'm always on the outside looking in. I've always struggled with a feeling of not belonging and being an ominous creature in a corner. And I think the most recent breakup that I went through and being dropped by a label has really amplified this feeling of not belonging. And I've been looking in a lot to try to understand this feeling and to try to change the pattern, because feeling like such an outsider all the time, it's very isolating. And I tend to be somebody that feels really big emotions. I feel like a lot of my energy when I'm socializing, when I'm out in public, goes towards trying to calm my nervous system down, because I have the tendency to just not feel safe out and about. I enjoy being around people, I enjoy being social, but I think I enjoy it more as someone who's an observer rather than actually interacting. And that's definitely something about myself that I want to work on. Like, I don't want to just be an observer. I want to be the person that like walks into the room and is interacting with people and making people feel good and making people feel comfortable. But I've been stuck in this loop of self-criticism, um, because of these life events that I've experienced. It's brought out a lot of rejection. I'm trying to understand these negative feelings towards myself in a way that's compassionate and in a way where I can give myself grace, um, and not be so mean towards myself. And as I've been introspecting, I've been realizing that, I mean, I'm obviously a very emotional and sensitive person, and that's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I get to make art because of it. I get to charge the things that I create with lots of emotions thanks to my sensitivity, but at the same time, outside of the context of making art, I feel like it can make relationships super difficult. I tend to get tunnel vision because I feel things so intensely and get so caught up in my own emotions that I forget the complexity of situations, and that, different people have different perspectives to contribute, and it's not just what you feel and what you think. And I think that this has isolated me a lot and pushed people away that care about me, just me being so focused on my own inner experience that I forget to look outside of myself. Ah, it's 333. Being introspective and learning a lot about myself is great, but I tend to get stuck in these highly self-critical loops, that I'm trying not to be stuck in, because it's a form of self-punishment. And I think that the rejection that I've experienced earlier this year, has convinced a part of me that being broken up with, that getting dropped by a label somehow affirms that like I'm not a good person, that I am this weird, ominous creature that people don't want to be around. Um, which is not true. There's no real guide to life. You know, things happen. We tend to get emotional. We tend to do and say things that we don't mean. And the important thing is that we learn from them. But as a highly sensitive person, when I look back and I reflect and I see past situations with more clarity, I'm just like, oh, Ambar, like you could have done this so much better. And I'm trying to break out of that. I'm trying to break out of that and forgive myself and give myself more grace for not knowing better in the past. And the important thing is that I'm able to, process these things now and be like, okay, I could have handled this differently. I should have been more considerate about this, and this. And another way where my sensitivity kind of goes against me sometimes is when I realize that I could have handled situations better, and I feel deep hurt in my heart, realizing that, there's the way that certain relationships have evolved. Like, it really hurts me that um, certain relationships have evolved to the point where, like, I can't call someone. They don't want to hear from me. It hurts my heart very deeply. I've had to accept the outcome of certain things and accept that I was in a place where I was in survival mode and I didn't really know how to give the best version of myself. The pain that surfaces has really been inspiring me to go about life differently, to go about relationships differently, to show up as a version of myself that gives people grace. I have to give myself grace first in order to give other people grace. And I want to be able to forgive myself for my past mistakes because I also want to be forgiving towards others. A way that I want to be moving forward is um, to be able to build strong relationships, to be able to keep bridges and not burn them down because of how emotional I tend to be. I want to be able to see outside of my own emotions. I want to be able to make people feel good. I want to be able to be the kind of outgoing person that walks into a room and people are excited to see them. People are excited to interact with them. I want to be able to radiate light. And in order to get to that point, I need to be able to forgive myself and give myself more grace for my past mistakes. I can't just be sitting in my room beating myself up constantly because I could have handled situations better. I do want to show up as a better person. I want to be able to build community, and I want to be able to surround myself with people that make me feel good about myself, that empower me and allow me to radiate the light that I want to radiate. I don't want to push people away. I don't want to be so sensitive and emotional point where people can't get too close because they might like step on my toes and I might get upset. Like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be able to be accepting. I want to be able to be understanding, and I want people to feel comfortable to have difficult conversations with me. I want to be the kind of person where you can have an uncomfortable, difficult conversation and feel great at the end because we were able to come to some sort of resolution or some sort of conclusion that felt good and empowering for both. And I know humans are very complicated and it's easier said than done, but that's just the way that I want to live my life. Like, I don't want to be a highly critical person. I don't want to heavily criticize myself and and as a result heavily criticize others. I don't want to put uncomfortable pressure on others. I don't want to put uncomfortable pressure on myself. I want to be able to be a free flowing person that is pleasant to talk to and that people want around and that people feel inspired by. I want to be able to radiate calmness and understanding and loving energy. I don't want to push people away that care about me, and I've done that a lot in the past, and I'm trying to be kind to myself about that. I want to be someone that I'm proud of. And I want to be able to hear people talk about me in a way that makes me feel good about myself. And those are my thoughts for today.